All right, let's bring in Kenny Mayne, one of my personal all-time favorites. I've talked to you here before on Radio Row.
You're so talented.
I am.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you for owning it. It's so much better that way.
You should just be honest.
Well,
we don't need to be humble.
No, I'm not. I have zero ego and no pride. Like, I try for shit all the time. Can we swear on this show?
Yeah,
Yes.
keep going. It's encouraged.
Yeah. So you just, like, when I left ESPN, the first thing I tried to do was make a commercial with Michael Jordan. I had this idea regarding the crying Jordan meme. Thought it was pretty funny. The woman in charge, at least we were talking. The fact that I was even in a conversation for 3 or 4 days where they didn't say no, right? Sometimes you send people stuff and they haven't answered yet. And then you find out they haven't read they haven't read the email. Still alive.
That's how I live my life, by the way.
Yeah, I've done that, how I got to ESPN, other stuff I've tried for. I just shoot for the moon. Like Nick Zito, horse race trainer, greatest line ever, maybe not just in sports, but in life. He had lost the Belmont like 9 years, or 9 second places, I should say. And they kept saying, man, you've never won. How disappointing. He's like, second is better than third. Second in the Belmont's pretty good. Yes, I'd rather win. He said, you know what? You can't even lose if you don't enter.
Well, for some people out there that exactly, like they don't enter because they don't want the rejection. You have to at least, you should
I love rejection. I like being told no.
You guys can be friends.
I don't necessarily love it, but you gain from it, right? Like, not very many people, just like Tom Brady. No knock on him. He's worked hard and had a great career. He's had a pretty blessed, right? Like, this happened and this happened, and I'm talking about it career-wise, right?
Sure.
Jumps in now to post thing for $1 zillion, right? Not most people don't get that path, and he worked hard to get them. Not knocking or taking away. I just use that as an example. Most people start at some lame job and barely making rent, and then they got to go to the next, right? Most people grind to get wherever they go, but the key is putting yourself out there and not being scared about the negativity.
Kenny, where's that come from for you to
huge
kind of have
muscle
that?
to build.
Yeah, where's that come from?
I think being the fourth child, the only boy, Master Kenny is here, is what the Canadian cousins actually call me. No, like I was told by my parents, go try anything. And I when I started high school football, I was 5'8", 135. They were looking like, what the hell is he doing here? But the next year I was 6'2", still like 135, but at least I'd grown, No, I had to kind of grow into my hands, and feet, like eventually I would mature, and that's why I went to junior college originally before I went to UNLV, which leads us to my ruined leg, which leads us to our foundation. What was the original question, though?
I
How did you get
don't
that?
know.
From my parents.
Yeah.
I think I was instilled all of that by my parents. Confidence in yourself, put yourself out there, shoot for the moon.
Yeah, I just think it's actually a super vulnerable, important question. Like, how do you build the muscle to go out in the world and have people tell you no, to keep going, and just have the positive self-talk to yourself that I'm okay no matter what anybody thinks, that some door's going to open at some point that I have no idea what it's going to be, but I'm going to get there.
It's happened to me more than once. Like, I had a TV job. Originally, I wanted to be like a news, like I'm more into politics than sports, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that's where I wanted to go. I took political science and history and English, and I was thinking I was going to be Ken Burns one day before I knew who Ken Burns was, right? Or do serious stuff. My little station in Seattle was only Monday through Friday. It was a little independent. We always used to say, if there's news on the weekends, it's news to us. That was our motto. But they added weekend, Saturday, Sunday, which are the days of the weekend, and they said, you're doing sports. I was like, at first I was like, all right, I guess. But once I did it, and you got to own it and write your own rundown and go to Seahawks games and Mariners and whatever, I just quickly this is the way to go. I can still do the other stuff as my avocation, and shot for the moon. But I quit that job, and I had 4 years before I got hired by ESPN. I sold prepaid legal insurance. I assembled garbage cans. I worked for MCI. Remember back when there was like long distance wars, right? While I was freelancing in TV, and I even would make up jobs. I would call, say the Seahawks had a home game against Kansas City. I'd take the black book and call all 7 TV stations in Kansas City. Are you sending a crew? And the ones that weren't, would you like a crew? I can hire a camera. I'll be the reporter. We'll send it on a satellite. Like, I would just invent work.
That's initiative.
It wasn't like I made a crazy amount of money, but I didn't make a lot of money then anyway, right?
So how did ESPN find you then?
I found them. Joe Montana to John Taylor, 49ers beat the Bengals, right? 89, I think it was. And I had a good show. I just knew, like, the highlight was good. The rest of the content was good. I sent that tape to them. They called and said, send us another one. We want to see if that was a fluke. I sent them the next show or whatever I sent them. Then I just chased them, and it took 4 years, though. They didn't hire me right away. They didn't think I was enough of a sports nerd, which I'm not. They identified that correctly. Like, just a broad knowledge of every last I still don't have it. I never had it. But I know how to do a show. And you can fake your way. You can minimize. There's, you don't need to know everything. But it's good to have a great base of knowledge. I'm not knocking that.
That really just makes me feel good all over because I know that's what I've heard about ESPN. They are going to ask you who's the sixth inning reliever for the Seattle Mariners in 2007, and you got to know that. I'm like, are you nuts? I don't like sports to that level.
I have local reference for you guys. My answer when I got interviewed like 3 times, they would say, "Hey, go interview Griffey. He hit 2 home runs last night. We want it for baseball tonight." Right?
Okay.
I would not just interview Griffey, but then go home and type up typewriters. They didn't have computers back then, or handwrite. We would send the tapes on an overnight courier most of the time or satellite, but I would include in the package a handwritten or typewritten. Here's what you could have had, and I would write a story. I did like extra credit. It's not a little dorky, but it showed my ambition. Finally, on the last interview, when I finally got hired, this is when Keith Olbermann went back to Dan Patrick. Stuart Scott moved up to be next to Susie. They needed one more low-level person, looking at me. And I told Vince Doria when I had my final interview, he was the old Boston Globe guy that was running a lot of ESPN too. I said, Vince, I still don't know who the 5th pitcher on the Cubs is, and I don't really care. But if you tell me to do a story on the son of a bitch, it'll be the best story here. Ooh, and he looked at me like, I like that. I never got to do that story, but I did get to go to Wrigley once.
I so appreciate
So that's
this interview.
A football injury?
Last play at Oregon, I was a junior at UNLV. We were getting murdered. Some guy stuck his helmet on my ankle to end the game. And in old game film, it's always like left to right. They pan the field and then they go up to the scoreboard. That's how as you're looking at football film,
Before
and you can see me squiggling in the corner. Other people are shaking hands and talking to cheerleaders or whatever. But so I played the next year. I came back from that. I don't know how, because it was a significant injury. They were going to honor my scholarship, but thinking I wasn't going to play, right? But I wanted to play. But I was second to Sam King, who led the nation in passing yards, and Randall Cunningham was coming up behind us as a freshman. And then all these years later, I got this device I'm wearing that you can't see. I can show wide shot. Doesn't matter. Look up the website. Look at the website. Run Freely, RUNFREELY, runfreely.org. So once I got my device, I cried for about 2 hours because the emotion, the fact that I now felt this power on this terrible leg that doesn't work. I was running on the first day. Gretchen and I quickly let's do something good with this. We started this foundation, and I think we're close to 40 veterans we've helped.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's amazing.
Congratulations.
It takes you out of pain. If I wear regular shoes, tennis shoes or dress shoes, I have a bad day. I'm limping that night. I'm icing. If I wear flip-flops or my brace device, then I'm good.
Runfreely.org?
Yep, .org.
Yep.
Speaking of the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yes, Kenny.
We got to go in the stadium because I'm shooting a story with Malcolm Butler. I'm from Seattle.
Yeah.
You guys know Malcolm Butler, what he did to us.
Yep.
So we're doing this bit where we're trying to exercise, get this behind us, right? And Malcolm Butler's going to show up again. But and we got one with David Tyree as well. So essentially, that's most of what I do for Caesars. Go to some big event, think up a couple of my stupid little skits, try to get agreements. That's another thing. You're talking about ambition. If we wanted somebody to be in something, let's see if we can get a hold of Ben Stiller's agent. And he ended up knowing who I was and liking what I did and said yes. Let's see if John Legend will sing a song for me. I'll write a really horrible song. He said yeah. Sometimes you get a yes, sometimes you get a no.
I think my favorite thing you did recently is you did a thing with a kid where you were yelling at him.
We can't say the word KID regarding that. We're not talking about it in that context.
Yes.
Are we talking about a different context?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yes.
That.
Yeah. I'm hyper focused in my own head right now of how you found your shtick, your voice, where this will work and I can do this and I know we got to go.
But I don't think people use that word. I don't think I'm.
What
I'm doing with you guys right now is the same thing you saw me do on TV, except I had a tie and sad to say stupid statistics or whatever. But right, I think being authentic is the best. Some people, do put
Yeah.
on, here's my thing I'm doing, but if you talk to me 5 minutes from now, I don't sound anything like that.
Yep. Well, that's the thing. Like, but some people are on there. They're trying to perform.
Yeah.
And you were able to settle into you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
think it's-
journey in itself, right there.
Bugs Bunny Hour, Johnny Carson, my dad, my uncle, my dad's best friend Al Drake, my best friend Mark Sands, like who I was surrounded with growing up. I would say I ended up making a career out of the same stuff that used to get me sent out in the hall in 5th grade. What's the most absurd thing I can do right this second?
Yeah.
Say it. Maybe I'm a ham. I don't know. Maybe I wanted the reaction.
Kenny.
Sure. Be normal.
I'll take Philadelphia to win. Thanks.
Okay. Then that's what I'm going to do, too.
Yeah.
Kenny Mayne,
I don't know. It's a toss-up game.
Kenny, I don't think we're going to have a more enjoyable conversation all week. That was
There's
great.
no chance you will. Thank you.
so much.